Macca's Guides.
Hey guys, Macca here with some exclusive gameplay and hands-on impressions of Edge of Nowhere, an upcoming Oculus Rift game from Insomniac Games, who flew me out to their Burbank offices this past weekend so I could get some hands-on time with some of their games. This is a single-player, third-person adventure horror game coming out on June 6th, 2016, which also happens to be my birthday. So first off, I'll start by dropping a little bit of info about the game, and then we'll end up wrapping up with some of my personal thoughts, as well as some extended gameplay. Now, if you're looking for a little bit of picture-in-picture that actually shows me wearing the Oculus Rift and looking around and how that cooperates with the screen and stuff, there's a couple minutes of that around the 14-minute mark of the video if you're interested in taking a look. I highly recommend making it to that section and watching along. So as I stated, Edge of Nowhere is a Oculus Store exclusive made for the Oculus Rift, coming out on June 6th, made by Insomniac Games, and what you're watching is some exclusive gameplay on screen. So the game is based around a guy named Victor Howard, very generic name unfortunately, and he is searching for his fiancée, Ava Thorne, who is part of a lost expedition in Antarctica. Now, his rescue mission takes a sudden turn as he ventures deeper into a dark, monstrous world where reality warps and twists around him. Desperate to find the one he loves, Victor must encounter disturbing creatures and climb sheer cliff walls as he descends further into madness. Now, that is a little bit of a marketing pitch type storyline, but more or less you're trying to find your fiancée after she goes missing. And as you begin to venture into these caves and climb these walls, you start battling with a little bit of, you start hallucinating. And you start battling with your mind and what's real and what's fake. And if anything you're actually encountering is real or whether it's just a part of your imagination. And I think that's where this game shines, especially when it comes to the horror elements. So the game was developed specifically for VR in conjunction with Oculus. And some of the key features include scaling vast ice walls, using your weapons and wits to survive the horrors of the haunted caverns, and clinging to your sanity in a surreal world. And now that I've gotten some of that basic info out of the way, now it's my turn to talk about what I played, what I experienced, my thoughts about it, where I see this game going and excelling, and where I could see maybe a couple of improvements. Now, in terms of what I got to sit down and play, I played the game for about 30 minutes. On average, it'll take any person playing the same section about 25 to 30 minutes. And I have edited out a few of my mistakes to make the video nice and clean for you guys. The part of the game that I'm playing happens about 45 minutes into the game, so I'm not playing from the very, very beginning. And as you can see, the gameplay on screen right now involves a lot of maneuvering on ice walls, and I must say that the animations are one of the greatest parts of the game. You can see that the ice climbing actually looks pretty well done. On top of that, you'll also notice some combat later on in the game. Some of it's a little bit more passive in terms of enemies being in your way and you just having to get rid of them through really easy means, kind of more like puzzle solving. And then a little bit later on, combat does become a little bit more fast-paced and includes you shooting enemies as they attack you and using kind of environments and stuff around you in order to play to your advantage and help you out if you're ever stuck in a pinch. Now, you may be wondering how important is the VR part of this game and how important it is to making the game what it is. And I would say it is extremely important. And one of the things that kind of makes it unique is that it's a third-person game, and most VR games end up being first-person. This is kind of one of the only games that are third-person action-adventure type games happening in VR, and I think it does that quite well. Now, obviously, the graphics, they're very good for VR, but they're not the greatest if compared to non-VR games. Obviously, that's going to be a reoccurring theme with VR games, but it does look quite good for what it is. I would say that for a game like this, the VR is incredibly important, and the game wouldn't be what it is without the VR. Now, it's a little bit hard to kind of explain everything without actually letting you sit down and experience VR, but I'm going to try my best here to explain why VR is important in this case and how it actually affects your gameplay. Now, there is a little bit of an issue going around with people complaining about headaches, and unfortunately, this game I took in two parts, and I got a minor headache, maybe a little bit of nausea after playing for an extended period of time. I did play the game right after eating lunch, which maybe kind of added to that. And as I understand the way VR works is if you build up a tolerance to VR, you can play for longer and longer periods, experiencing no headaches after you build up a little bit of tolerance to the way VR handles and the way the motion sickness kind of helps. The more you look around and the more you're stationary, the more the problem will kind of manifest itself. However, like I've been saying, the more you play VR, it seems to go away the longer you play. So you'll see a lot of ice climbing on the screen at this point, and I think that's done pretty well in terms of how they are set pieces in the game. I wouldn't say it's the most exciting part of the game. I think the most exciting part of the game comes with the horror part and the psychological thriller part, where you're battling your mind and stuff seems kind of weird and might not be happening the way you think actual life would happen. And you're kind of deciding what is real, what's not real, battling these monsters in the cave. The sound design is very good. And I actually found myself, like, my heart was beating. I almost cried like a little girl at one point in the game. And it is very exciting. And virtual reality kind of, it does things to you that traditional games and traditional movies aren't able to do. It really engrosses you in a world, in this 3D world, in all aspects. You feel like you're in the game. You look around and your player looks around exactly like you. You look to your left and the flashlight looks to your left, meaning you don't know what's happening to your right, but you might hear something. And this is the kind of psychological stuff that's happening. It really does play with your head, and it does immerse you into the experience like nothing else really can. I think horror games, and especially on YouTube where the horror scene is quite important, I think VR is the future of horror games, although I don't know if it is the future of all games. Now, on top of that gameplay, the game does try to tell a story, and that happens through kind of speeches you have with what seems to be some type of dispatcher, as well as journals you'll collect. As you're reading those journals, you can kind of lean in and look into whatever your surroundings are and listen closely to what is happening in those journals. So it does seem that the game not only depends on its gameplay, but does try to tell a convincing story. Although I wouldn't say that I was necessarily enthralled into that story. I found that the gameplay served a much bigger purpose in this game and was a lot more interesting to me than the story itself. So that's really all I have to say. I mean, I think I've covered all the bases in terms of what I was able to experience. I'm kind of excited to see where this game goes and how long it is and how the first 45 minutes that I didn't get to try plays out. And I'm really excited about the psychological thriller part and your brain tricking you into thinking, thinking about memories you might have had with your fiance and reliving those memories inside of the world, even though you're not actually there. Not a lot of games have done that exceptionally well. I think this might be one of the few games that does kind of environmental psychological thrilling very well. And like I said, the VR is one of the most important aspects of why it does it so well. So I am quite interested in seeing where this game goes, and hopefully, I can get my hands on a full copy and a VR headset in the future to take a deeper look into this game, talk a little bit more about it, maybe make some cooler videos with some picture-in-picture all the way through. And yeah, that's really all I have to say. If you guys have any specific questions about what I was able to play, hopefully I'll be able to answer them in the comments down below. I will answer them as long as I know the answer to your question. I will now be leaving you with the rest of the gameplay with full in-game audio. Thank you guys so much for watching. Special shout out to everyone on Patreon for supporting the show, including Hair and Giggles, as well as DocCupcake84. Go check him out on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I see you next time. Peace.
December 12th, 1932, 6 p.m. A dissection has revealed these creatures' cellular biology to be unlike anything in medical literature. Hernan is the only one on the crew who shares excitement at this momentous discovery. Don't they realize we're writing pages of history?
What the hell are these things? This is crazy. You can make it. Finally, way out of here. Spires are getting more frequent. It's a hell of a chandelier.
Ava, are you there?
Yes, Victor. Where are you?
I think I'm getting closer to the center. What has been constructed here? It's incredible.
I know. Everything we'd hoped for. Keep heading.
Ava? Ava? What was that? Ava? Hello? Are you there? Damn it! What happened? Not sure how this thing sees, but I'm not gonna cross his path. Looks like its back is diseased with wounds. You son of a bitch. Let's buy that spike plant. Now's my chance. Let's buy that spike plant. Now's my chance. I went through those rounds too fast.
Miskatonic University. Keep it together, Victor.
Mankind has always had an instinctual need to explore, but we were not the first such beings on this planet. We were specimens before we were ever explorers ourselves.
With respect, Professor, the scientific community seems to disagree. If it's true, why not show evidence?
And overshadow your work? I wouldn't dream of it, Mr. Howard.
Victor has a point. Revealing evidence to the public would help gain funding for further research.
What I reveal, and when I reveal it, shall be done on my own terms, Miss Thorne. Class dismissed.
We can't break in.
Afraid he might get a new favorite if he catches us.
Look, just keep your voice down.
What is all of this?
Oh, it's nothing. You know how eccentric Edwards can be.
What about that? Fascinating.